So a few people have asked me how to do cloth nappies and what my system has been. And instead of having various phone conversations, I thought I'd try and put together a simple video. There are lots on YouTube if you just search up cloth nappies, but I guess this is my take on it, and hopefully I'll be able to improve on this video, make it a bit more efficient and slick with feedback. So feel free to leave feedback on information you would like to know or clarification. But yes, I'll just talk through what I do. So basically, to get started, I feel you need at least 20 to 24 sets of nappies. When I talk about nappies, for us, we use a system of what's comprised of a shell, and I'll put up a picture. It's basically a waterproof layer that's on the outside. So whatever the nappy absorbs, it doesn't get through. And these are often made of polyester, and they have a laminate lining on top to be the waterproof barrier. And inside these shells, you put inserts, and the inserts is what does all the absorbing. So for us, we use a brand called Monarch. It's an Australian brand, and we've tried other brands, but what I like about Monarch is that the absorbency is really good. So when it comes to absorbency, we find, and what others have said, is there is microfiber, which is all polyester, and it absorbs really quickly, but the problem is it doesn't have a lot of capacity, and so once it reaches capacity, you get what's called compression leaks, and that's when the liquid that it absorbs kind of starts leaking out. But if you use natural fibers like cotton or bamboo or hemp, in that order is the increasing absorbency capacity. So bamboo is more absorbent, has more capacity than cotton when it's material of the same weight. And hemp, often it's made with cotton, is even more when it comes to capacity than bamboo. But we like bamboo just because it's really soft, and I guess it's just easy to shape when you put it into a nappy shell, whereas hemp is really absorbent, but it's also quite slow to absorb, so it can hold a lot of liquid, but it takes time for it to absorb. So if your child floods, you might get leakage, and so people like to put a bamboo or even a microfiber insert on top of a hemp insert. So that's completely up to you, but we like the bamboo because it's sort of great absorbency, absorbs relatively quickly, is soft to the touch. So that's us. On top of a insert, so on the very inside that touches the baby's bottom, I was going to say bot and bottom at the same time, bottom, you have, you can put, we just have this layer, and it's microfleece. I got it at Spotlight, and it sort of just sits on top as a liner. What it does, one, it keeps the baby's bottom dry because the urine kind of goes through it and gets absorbed by the insert, but this kind of keeps their bottom dry, not touching the liquid or the insert. It just also helps with poos. So when the baby poos, you have to, or this is solid poos, you have to dump it into the toilet. And I find that poo on the liner just comes off really easily. But if you get poo on the insert, on the natural bamboo fibers, it gets stuck there, and it's a lot of work to get into the toilet. And it's not always pleasant to try and use your fingers to get the poo off. So that's just some handy tips for you. And it just helps with maintaining a dry bottom to avoid any nappy rash as well. But yeah, so you can configure the absorbency however you like. So often we put the shell, then we put 5-layer bamboo liner, and then we've got like another liner, another bamboo one on top of that, which is a 3-layer bamboo one, so 8 layers of absorbency. And then on top of that, the layer that touches the baby's bottom is the liner. And for our daughter, who is now 1.5, that lasts a good 4 hours before we need to change it, before it feels full. But the wonderful thing is, even when it is full, it just doesn't leak because the shell keeps it all in, and the bamboo natural fibers, unlike microfiber, doesn't leak. It just holds the liquid once it's full. So that's the nappy. Why I say you need 20 to 24 is because you have to wash them and wait for them to dry. So you use about 6 nappies a day. You wash every 2 days, and it takes about a day to 2 days to dry. So you're thinking through, 12 nappies, then circulate them to wash and to dry. So you need your other 12 ready to go. So when did we start? We started cloth nappying at 3 months, mainly because I just could not get my head around doing it with a newborn. And also, I guess because we had these nappies that supposedly fit from 7 kilos to 15, 16 kilos. So it's like a one size fits most nappy. I guess it just fit really awkwardly on a really tiny baby with stick legs when they're first born, and so it just didn't work. It would leak as well. So we didn't really get into it until 3-4 months. But I will link you to a video, and there are several videos I've discovered showing you how to do a newborn hack on these one size fits most nappies, and that allows you to fit it around a newborn baby snugly around their tiny little legs so that it doesn't leak. So you can check those out if you're keen. But other brands, including Monarch, they do sell newborn fit shells and inserts. So they're a bit smaller, and you can fit them on a newborn baby. So what's really important for getting cloth nappying happening is the wash routine. It's the most important thing. I learnt my wash routine from a wonderful website called Clean Cloth Nappies. If you Google them, they have really scientifically backed up ways of washing so that the main thing is the inserts. To wash them properly so, you get rid of all the urine and that doesn't leave any bad stuff behind on these modern cloth nappies. So essentially there's 2 things. One is having a hot wash, and 2, having 2 wash cycles. And what I mean by that is you would do what's called a pre-wash every day or every 2 days maximum. That pre-wash is purely to kind of get rid of all of the urine, and that allows you to then do a second wash called a main wash, where you can put in all your other clothes, your towels, or small towels, not big ones, because they'll wrap around the nappies and that will prevent them from being washed properly. But yes, the main wash is then kind of just rinsing out everything. But the pre-wash is essential to kind of get rid of all the yucky stuff before you do a main wash, to just kind of clean it up well. I said the first thing that's important is a hot wash. So people think, a cold wash is fine, but the hot really activates the washing detergent or powder, allowing it to really do its job effectively on your nappy inserts. So we wash our pre-wash at 60 degrees and our main wash at 40 degrees. So those two things. For a pre-wash, it's important to do it for at least 30 minutes, whatever you're doing, at a high speed spin. So about 800 to 1,000. And what else? For your main wash, I know this sounds crazy, but doing it for at least 2 hours, and again at a spin level about 800 to 1,000. So whatever programs you use, those are the essential things to make happen. Where do you put your dirty nappies? So because we wash every 2 days, I try to do my pre-wash just before my main wash, whereas other people like to do a pre-wash every day, might want to do a main wash every 2-3 days. You might do it at different times, but with modern cloth nappies, you need to dry pail them. You do not soak them, so that's really different to what people think cloth napping involves. It's very simple. I don't actually wash any of them by hand or have to soak them and tip the water, anything like that. A dry pail is basically a basket that has holes all around the sides, and you can get a very cheap one from Kmart, and you basically allow them to air when they're dirty, and you need some ventilation for that. In your laundry, make sure there's space, or in a space that's near a window. I mean, we don't have windows in our laundry, but it doesn't bother me because we don't really go in there, but the space is big enough for it to kind of have its sides, have air around it, basically. So you put your dirty nappies straight into the dry pail, into that basket with holes around it. And when it comes to pre-washing, you just chuck that into the washing machine. If you do not do your main wash right after your pre-wash, you can take whatever you've pre-washed out and put it in another dry pail, and make sure you label your dry pails or have a different color or something so you don't get mixed up with the ones you haven't pre-washed and the ones you have. So if you don't do a main wash right after, you take them out of the machine and put them in another dry pail. If you do your main wash right after, I basically open up the washing machine and put in all my clothes, whatever, and then put on my main wash. So again, I do my pre-wash every 2 days and my main wash every 2 days. Yes, the more nappies you have, obviously, the less often you have to do your washes. But yes, with 24, I do have to do every 2 days, or I will run out of nappies. You probably don't need as many shells or the thing that goes on the outside to stop, the inserts from leaking out into the world, because they do have a plastic laminate on top, so they dry very quickly, and so they dry in less than half a day. It's important not to dry them out directly in the sun so that you don't damage the laminate layer on top. But yes, so you can function, I believe, with maybe 12 shells and 24 inserts. Some people like to, and if you don't have any, urine on the thigh elastics of the shell, you can just give it a quick wipe and then put a new insert in, so you can use it twice rather than having to change the shell every time you put on a new nappy on your baby. Whether or not you do cloth nappying, I highly recommend using cloth wipes rather than disposable wipes. My reasons for that is, one, it's cotton and or bamboo. I guess you can get bamboo ones. We just bought literally from Target the baby face washcloths that are just squares, and they are made of cotton, and we like it because the terry toweling on the wipe, it just grabs really well onto poo, and you end up just using one wipe rather than when you use disposables you need a few to kind of clean up. The cost is just so small because you buy a pack, you just use it forever. And you don't necessarily need to put it in the pre-wash, but I just chuck them in the pre-wash with my dirty nappies, and you don't have to do anything. It's so easy. How do you travel with them? If you are traveling with them, I basically have a little wet bag. This is what they look like. Camera. They look like this, and they have on the inside the same kind of plastic laminate lining that the nappy shells have, and I just chuck some wet, already kind of wet wipes in there, zip it up and take it with me. So it's super easy. And then when I use them, I just put them in the middle of the dirty nappy, I close the nappy up, and I have a bigger version of a wet bag, which you can buy from anywhere that sells cloth nappies. I have a bigger version that I just put the whole nappy in, and then when I go home, I open them up and put them in the dry pail. It's that simple. I'm just going to walk around to the room where we've got all the changing stuff. At home, we have a system where it's very easy. We have a clean wipes box here, plastic container, and a dirty wipes little container here. I fill both of them up with water, and I change it every day for the clean wipes box, but just tap water, really simple. I just chuck wipes in there as I need them. I squeeze out the water, and then the dirty wipes container or box is filled with tap water, and I've also added 4 drops of tea tree essential oil, which you can just buy from any chemist. Super easy, but tea tree essential oil is known to be antibacterial, antifungal, and having some of that in there just kind of stops the germs from growing, so it's just easy to maintain that. But some people like to put other things in the clean wipes container, so a drop or 2 of lavender oil, just because it smells nice and is calming for the baby. We do have that, but I've just not bothered doing that all the time. And yeah, it's that simple. feel free to ask me more questions. But yeah, in terms of what brand of nappies to use, also like there are different types. So I think the main 3 types of cloth nappies is one, the traditional type that your parents might have done. It's where they just have a square or rectangular terry towel, and there's lots of like different ways to do this, lots of like origami ways of putting it essentially around the baby, and they use a safety pin or some sort of pin to then pin it, and then they put a layer that's similar to the shells that we use, a waterproof layer, so that it doesn't leak, it holds it in. And some people do that, they just buy the shells, the ones that we use, and then they just use terry towels. That's probably the cheapest way to do it, actually. We use the inserts because I feel it's a lot more work. It's a bigger learning curve to try and origami terry towels onto the baby. It's a lot of learning to do quickly, and so I didn't bother getting into them. So the second type is the one that we have, where you just buy an insert, and they look like this. This is our bamboo ones, and they have clips on both. Oh, this is a different one, but they usually have clips on both ends, and they clip into the shells, and so it's just easy like that. In terms of those nappies, some of them clip in, other ones you actually have a pocket in the shell and then you stuff them in, which takes a bit more work, takes a bit longer than just snapping it into place. And the third type is, so I think in hindsight I wish I did do this, because I do care about the ecological footprint of nappies, and hence why we got into cloth nappies in the first place. But this is the most ecological way of doing it, is to get what's called fitted nappies. So it means that you can't adjust the size as much as a one size fits most nappy, because they're literally sewn like little pants. They're made out of wool, which is why I would have liked to get into it, rather than the nappy shells, which have a plastic laminate on top. But they're wool, and so, and it's a lovely, it feels nice too for the baby, more breathable. It's like a little pant, and then on the inside, the bit that does the absorbing is, it's sort of like a little nappy already shaped, and you tie it up, and it's made out of cotton and bamboo and hemp. And so the little pant, the wool pant that goes over it, it's like, wool is amazing because wool it's got lanolin, which naturally is waterproof, and wool can absorb as well. So, and it doesn't smell. So wool is naturally fungal, antibacterial, and so you don't have to wash them that often, maybe once a week or every 2 weeks, really. I know it sounds crazy because you get urine on it, but you don't wash them unless you get soiling and it smells a little bit. But it is more work to take care of, because when you wash wool, obviously you can't just chuck it in with your main wash because wool shrinks. So you've got to hand wash them or do a gentle wool cycle exclusively for your wool items, and then you have to periodically re-lanolize them. So put again the oils back onto the wool, and you can YouTube videos to do that, but I won't go into that system. But it is a lot more work to wash. yeah. Anyway, so that's me talking forever. Feel free to ask questions. I will try my best to provide more information. Yeah. Yes, that's all.